What up, world? This is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast. I'm your homeboy WordPlay TJ, and I'm joined by my homie Icarus Gray. We deliver to you a dope conversation where we talk about everything for no reason at all. Tune in every week just to hear that conversation. And without any further delay, this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast. And we're live.
Yeah. What's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all. I dragged that out for no reason at all.
But we're back. As long as you didn't go, why that?
No.
Like, you know, you're good. Like it's all good, my guy.
Yeah. So how are you feeling?
Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Nice flip of those lyrics.
No, but I'm feeling phenomenal. Also, I forgot something as I started here, so people don't just, if you randomly hear music, there's a reason.
Oh.
Just because, you know, I forgot.
Yeah, you.
I did all of that.
We just had a whole conversation.
Had a whole conversation about it.
And then it.
Yeah, like, it was, anyway. It's here now, so that's why.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Have that light vibe in the background.
Just the light vibe to start with.
Yeah.
You know, the No Rhyme or Reason podcast vibes. When this song
you
is
can
done.
leave it if you want the whole time. Does it loop? Yeah, we talked about that.
It like stops. It like abruptly stops.
And then
it starts back, and then like whenever it abruptly stops, it stops in a way that's like we'll get there because I'm gonna let it ride. And when it gets there, it's gonna like stop, and then it just seems like, okay, now we're supposed to talk, and they're supposed to hear us.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I think that's because the end of that beat was kind of set up for it. It wasn't set up for looping.
Well, actually, yeah, we can talk about this a little bit just because I think that's a good creative thing. Like, I am working on an album. I know I probably say that all the time, and there has been no album produced, and Gray Matter and Gray Area have not properly existed currently, but it is coming. Like, just I got to get in my bag, and to getting my bag,
this is what you're hearing, right? Is the kind of starts of that.
Yes. So this beat is tied to me, something that TJ made for me. And it's like one of those, man, when I tell y'all, so many good things.
We're in an early pre-production phase, but it feels good.
It feels great, especially the song we're actively working on. That one is going to be, it's going to be great. I'm a huge fan of Lupe Fiasco. He's the #1 rapper in for me. Joe Budden is too, just to clarify. I've said all these things before. Check the old episodes. But I basically get to create my own Paris Tokyo, and I'm super excited about that because it's still a natural vibe. And the only reason I say this is because it's just reminiscent of what that made me feel, and I get to make other people feel that as well. Yeah.
I'll send you that those vocals next week.
Bet. Speaking of what will be next week, by the time you guys hear this, you like what transition game? It's lit.
Segway game on point.
Segway King.
I didn't start the timer.
But speaking of next week, by that point, your lovely fiance will be your lovely bride, your lovely wife, I should say.
For sure. Yeah. And in layman's terms, for those that don't understand that, I'll be married.
And it went right into, and it was so perfect.
Okay. So it'll start up eventually. That's fine. people will be listening to the background of this, and they'll be like, "I'm just waiting to know when the song is gonna pop back up," and it'll be there one of these days. So that's it. So I want to kind of talk about.
See, I let it go. Like I was like, nope, that's what he said. We're gonna let it go.
What can go wrong will go wrong to start, because this is my wedding week, and that's kind of where I want to go from there.
It's like, so basically from one brother to another, the gifts and tips and advice about marriage is about what we're gonna do. Because what's funny is you gave me advice as a single man before I got married that helped me through a lot of
what's funny is
turbulence.
Oh,
and
it cut out for just a second, so I'm sure it got it on your end. But what's funny is,
I said what's funny is you gave me single guy advice before I get married. And that helped me in a way of like, because it technically wasn't single guy advice. It was between brothers and sage advice of relationship stuff, but it was still key things. And so I kind of want to impart a little bit of my gained wisdom, so to speak, from the things that I've gotten, and how pivotal that is for me moving forward with everything I have going on, and to kind of give you those insights. So number one, stay in the bubble. The bubble is the happy place of being with your spouse. That means when you get home, if you've been waiting all day to see this person, check whatever attitudes and everything else you got at the door. Like, work can sometimes drive us crazy, and we instantly want to dump all of that information onto our significant other. But the first thing you have to do is just be happy that they're there.
You work a lot, or you work with people.
Yeah. So just be happy that you're there, or you are there together, so to speak. Like, this is a safe place. Like, this isn't work, or at least not. This isn't my job, I should say. It is work, and you have to work at it. But this isn't something that should add any more stress or add anything extra to my life when I get home with you. Like, especially if I've been waiting to see you all day.
Right.
So like, and staying in the bubble. And we kind of talked about this initially at the beginning planning processes of the marriage. You went from big elaborate day to something that fit you guys better. And that was a monumental step.
Yeah.
To kind of get there. And you only get there with enjoying. Yep. With enjoying each other.
I'm just going to create a loop version of this.
That just
so I can send it to you.
Facts.
But does staying in the bubble apply to the arguments too?
Yep. Because some advice I was given through counseling was, that person that you spend all day loving, the person that you're going to say vows to, pray for, do whatever, is not against you. Like, they're not your enemy. How can somebody you just spent all that energy wanting to see them successful and do well, and they're doing the same for you, be your enemy? No, you're just having a disagreement. Right. And that's okay. But in that bubble, you need to realize that this person across from you is not trying to hurt you. And that should change your perception on how to approach it. So like right now we're having a miscommunication in a sense, so is this disagreement enough to where we're not going to want to be around each other? If it's not, then we need to either figure it out You know, agree to disagree or just let it go entirely.
Yeah. Some advice I gotten from a new coworker, and hopefully we build some friendship bonds here locally.
Right.
He told me that, you know, I've been surveying a lot of people about marriage in general, married people that have seemingly happy marriages from the outside perspective. And what he told me is that, you know, part of this kind of bubble theory is to fight fair. Right?
Yeah. Because, like, again, like I said, you can't attack somebody that you understand wants the best for you. Like, you attack your enemies, and this person is not that. So it's easy sometimes when we're mad to think of the most cutting things we can possibly think of to say to that person, because that's what will make us feel better. This is not that, you know, this is, you're in love. Like, and the biggest thing about love that is a misconception is that you got to feel love. You don't have to feel it all the time. You just have to act it. And that basically means, just for those who think that I'm saying like all this coded stuff, is that it's like, okay, so when your mom like puts you in timeout, she's mad at you because of whatever it is that you did. But nonetheless, at some point during all of that, she calls you out of your room and feeds you because you still need to eat. Like, she's mad at you still because whatever you did, and maybe, you know, but that's the act of love, and you still have to act like you love that person. So, like, even if she has gotten on your nerves all day, and Kanae has done it a million times, if I get home, you know, or I'm on my way home and I know it's been a bad day for her, or I know it's about to be, you know, that time, I will go and stop and get whatever it is that she needs so she can still have that. Because what I don't want is to further incite a fire that didn't need to be there in the first place, because I need to act in love. Like, I don't want to be in pain or on my worst day, and because you're mad at me, you act like I don't exist, because then it's just going to feel worse. Yeah.
You just kind of exacerbate things that don't need to be kind of flamed up.
Right. So acting in love however you can, and remembering that person is a teammate and their success is your success, is pivotal.
Right. So trick one, stay in the bubble, and kind of as an underpinning of that, fight fair, because that's kind of some sound advice I got.
Tip 2. This is forever. A lot of people have their limits, so to speak, whether it's infidelity or whatever the case may be.
Right.
When you're dating, an argument that y'all can have can be about something that you instantly want to walk away from. Like, and you can do that because we're just dating. I don't have to stay here and take this. I can date somebody else.
Yeah.
When you're married, you can't do that. Now, I'm not saying, like, if you're in a toxic, abusive relationship, whatever, don't get out of that if it's so toxic that you know that it's going to be the end of you type stuff. What I'm talking about is an argument that in dating would be something that you might walk away from should now be something that you understand we just kind of have to work through. We have to figure it out.
Do you recommend like handling that immediately?
Sometimes here's the real tip of it. 24 hours. So if you're having an argument and you need space and or time, you are given a 24-hour time limit to cool down. But the caveat of that is that you have to come back and talk about whatever it was in 24 hours.
Yeah. I
Because
can't
you have
talk
to come
about
back
it
and face
immediately.
No.
My instinctual brain takes over in the midst of that, and all I want to do is kind of fight. And that's it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I don't have an opportunity to think rationally as like people. That's the hard part about arguments with me, is that people see me as this hyper rational person, and they don't understand that I get emotional too. And so that is, people seeing me emotional in that way is totally counter to what they expect me to be. And so they assume that I'm thinking rationally in my emotional reaction.
No. Same. Like, I feel like I'm thinking rationally, and I might be saying something that's a good point, but it is covered in the filth of anger. But like you,
Filth of anger.
but setting that up is something that you have to do, because you give yourself enough time to kind of, okay, I get it. I came off like a jerk, or, hey, I've calmed down. Let's talk about it, because you have to address these things, because what happens when you don't is those things fester. They sit inside of you. And ultimately it just takes you down as a unit. Because you can't address issues. You run from them. You passively aggressively attack them. That's like, it would have been nice if the house was clean when you got home. It would have been nice.
Yeah,
if,
that's that fight fair
breakfast.
piece, right? Like,
yeah. It all plays into each other. It's all wrapped. Like, it's just
it's
different
all
levels
tied
of
together,
it.
for
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? Like, this level is more of a tool. Like, there are so it should have just been tips and tools. Like, the biggest tip is stay in the bubble. The tools to do so have been, knowing that this is for real, and just general love. So, with that being the case, those are the first two.
Have you ever been in a space? Because us guys think about things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And when we actually act on something, a lot of us are acting on it in a very, I know what I'm getting into sort of way. Like the decisions we make, say for example, you want to go to the grocery store and you want to get some cookies.
Right.
Right. You know the exact type of cookie that you want. You know the brand. You know what it tastes like. You know what it's going to be like when you get it. Right. That's your cookie. So when we're proposing, like, we know what we're going for. Right. And so the this is forever part has never been a question in my mind. Right. Because I knew what I came to the store for. Right.
Right.
So I'm wondering if that's a thing that you really do have to remind yourself of after you get married, because beforehand, you know what you came here for.
No, yes, because you didn't know, because even if you know what you came for, you don't know what you're getting. That's like, it's essentially
that's
like
different.
going to the
Right,
store.
that's going to get your cookies, and the cookies have a new recipe.
Yeah, or, now that you're a little bit older, chocolate affects you differently. Like, when I was younger, I could eat as many cookies as I want. I didn't have esophagitis. Versus now, where if I eat too many cookies or drink too much coffee or something like that, I could potentially close my throat up, because aggravation and irritation and all that stuff. You don't know, because it's different. What we've been, and I've talked about this so much in the past couple of days, what we've been taught as we were younger, or what my common sense told me, marriages are blissful. They are the happiest things in the world. When you get married, all your problems are solved.
Yeah, well, sitcoms, right,
Yeah.
hyperbolize
Yeah.
marriages, and they show us some of the drama that's
Yeah.
associated with it, but it's very jokey, and we don't really believe that any of that stuff actually happens, and that
Hmm.
stuff is not real, and so therefore it doesn't feel the same way that an actual real argument or disagreement
Yeah.
feels like.
Especially with all the um, love and hip hop, love and marriage, 90 Day Fiance, all of this reality TV stuff that is so far disconnected from.
Right, it's produced and dramatized.
Yeah. And that's it. It's produced and dramatized to where you're like, what? Like, no.
Mhm.
So it is work. It is continual work. It is work that you have to get up and want to do every day. You you do that on all accounts, and you just have to kind of do that. You have to get into this space where you're continually working at your marriage. You're building it to new plateaus into new places because you have to take that time, right?
You're saying something really serious. And so I'm sorry.
Oh man, this is hilarious.
But I just made a post on Facebook. Side note, everybody, I made a post on Facebook the other day how I'm notorious for hanging up on customer service people.
Uh-huh.
I got a customer service call in the middle of this conversation, thinking that it was like DoorDash or something like that. And
Yeah.
I answer it, and the guy's like, "Hey, this is Jason from such and such company," and I'm just like,
Boop.
"Bye." I don't want to talk
Oh,
to you
man.
about shit.
Not a goddamn thing.
I want my food and I want this podcast done. That's what I want. So yeah, let's get back to what you were saying.
Man, I completely lost. It's so funny how I look. Like
That's fine.
that's how old I am and know that I'm getting is like I lose trains of thought so quickly. But
Yeah,
the general construct of what I was saying is that marriage is work. That's all. It's like
yeah, sure.
it's rewarding work because you're with the person that you're supposed to be with. You know what? Here's another topic or tip. Not something that you need now, but something that I want to share with the audience.
You mean Ti?
Hold
What?
on. I got to give it to you. Hold on.
The king of the South?
Hold on. I had to give it to you.
Little delayed reaction, but I'll take that crowd.
I had to go ahead. They were there, but I had to bring them in.
Something's wrong.
So, fellas, this is for the fellas. Start getting resumes instead of background checks.
What?
So, here's what we normally do as men. While we're single, we'll ask a girl, "What's your favorite color? When's your birthday? Do you like it from the back? Do you accept dick pics?" Whatever the random stuff dudes do. They do all
I
these
feel
things.
like a lot of these questions have been, yeah.
Yeah. Like, what do you like to eat? Where are you from? What are you majoring in? Like these
Are they in the same conversation?
these surface questions. Like, bro, you remember like when I was a teenager, like 13 or whatever, like I remember those used to be the main questions. What's your birthday? What's your sign? What's your favorite color? Like,
Yeah.
and what we're doing with those questions is trying to see if you're crazy or if you're sane enough that I can get some and you stay the same way. It's a background check. Versus,
I mean, does anybody ever believe that that's going to happen?
believe what?
Like in reality,
Believe what?
that is going to stay the same.
I mean, they do. Because, well, you want to see if they're crazy enough to where when you do dip inevitably, that it won't cost you everything. Again, background check. I need to know if you've ever keyed a car, and I'm knowing this just from osmosis and talking to you, or whatever, versus a resume where, what do you go to church? How long have you been at that church? What is it that you believe? What successes would you like? How many kids do you want? Like, do you like gaming? Do you have an issue with strip clubs? Have you ever?
Some questions that are in the same, that I wouldn't put in the same conversation. But
you don't have to put them in the same conversation. You just got to get to them.
It's just funny as you're listing them off. I'm just like, what church do you go to?
Well,
do you like going to the strip club?
Well, you can have some of those questions, but you can have that. And that's adult conversation.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times we make it seem like we have to have those, like the surface thing. We can start with a couple surface questions. I'm not saying never, quote unquote, background check, but I'm saying build a resume versus asking those surface questions just because it's comfortable on a first date.
Yeah.
What are your actual intentions? The reason we background check anybody, male or female, is because we want to see, like I said, are you crazy or are you worthy enough that I can have sex with you? That we can bump these uglies and it not end up in a bad place. Because, like I've said before,
bumping uglies.
The child support system is now on FX. The child support system is already backwards and messed up as is. And like, I can understand, one of my brothers and stuff being mad about, well, why do I have to do this? Why am I doing this? And da, 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 da. But at the same time, I'm like, on the same hand, I'm like, but you had every opportunity to find out who this person was before you accidentally put a baby in her. Resume.
Do you think it's mainly because the relationships are sexual based? You know what I mean? Like,
it's because we're taught that. It's more so because we're taught that. We are taught that, no woman wants a man who doesn't know what he's doing in bed. We're taught, you're young, go sow your wild oats, go out here and do whatever. And then when you just don't have those desires no more, settle down. Like, we taught all kinds of ludicrous bullshit that backfires and bites us in the ass because you didn't even think about the next step of it. You just thought purely about what are all the things I can do without having to really work for it, without having to invest who I am or where I am to make me feel good in the moment, until it all blows up in my face. And now I have a kid I can't see, a kid I don't want to see, a baby mama I don't want to talk to, a crazy person that is calling and doing all this other stuff on my phone when I didn't do what I should have did, which is figure out who this person is and let her figure out who I am or whatever the case may be. You ain't got to give up every ingredient in the recipe if you're not sure. But if you're not sure, then again, you fire those people.
Yeah, I don't feel like enough women check resumes.
Because
I don't want to lump everybody in the same category. I just feel like a lot of women have the same stories. They go for somebody, right? It could be for all these reasons. And then when they go for somebody, they end up getting hurt in the same way. And it could be just the guys, right? Well, in general.
That's still more of what we're taught. Because again, we as men know that we know that they don't get that. Because a background check, here's how we pass background checks. Don't care if this is, y'all can call it snitching, whatever you want to call it. This is how we pass background checks. You need to know that in the moment that I'm listening and attentive to you, I compliment you. You look nice. I don't rush to initially talking about sex. Or I rush to it so you know that I'm up front. Like, I do
like
all
a
of these
game.
things so you can have an expectation, but you're also like, well, he's up front. He's stern. I'm pretty positive that if we sleep together, maybe things can kind of change because he seems like he's got his mind together. Like he's got a good job, or, he works hard. From how he talks about his kids, he seems to be involved with them, or from how he talks about wanting kids, like all of these things, like it's background checks, because until you don't know. Like you could ask me a question about, well, do I want kids? And I'm like, yeah, I want kids. And then you ask me how many. You want 10, I want 2. And that changes the entire dynamic of what we're talking about. You might
it's totally different in values. It's different values. The values don't align.
Yeah. Another tip is transitions, or another topic. So another thing that you're going to go through is people's expectations sometimes are this. You might get married and say, hey, I'm the provider and you take care of the house. But what can happen is, while taking care of the house, you might watch something on TV that there's a degree or something that she wants to go after. Well, now it's, I'm in school, you are working, and I can't work, or I can't clean the house in the same way. And now I need you to do that, or I need you to help with those things, or whatever. And while you don't go in necessarily saying that these roles can switch, that's marriage. That's growth. That's evolution. From where, you might be in a situation where you want to stop teaching and doing school stuff altogether.
Well, there's that's kind of an inevitable path. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely going to be a transition there, and then she's going to be doing things that further her. Right.
And you kind of have to be able to know that that's the case. You're both trying to push each other to succeed. And that's more so what the transitions aspect is about, is knowing that things can change and will change, because kids change the dynamic. A second dog, a house, huge. Relocation.
Every decision is a point of, I want to say, yeah, it's just a point of contention, so to speak, right? Not contention in a bad way, but it's just it's an angle that bends the pipe just a little bit,
Yeah, like it's something that you kind of you just grow into. You kind of like start seeing things a little bit differently, and you just kind of have to not anticipate, because you can't anticipate all the changes. This is where communication comes in. The number one killer of all things is communication.
Yeah.
And as we learned in communication, 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of things that are communicated non-verbally that I think we both don't quite understand just yet. Right. I'm not aware of my nonverbal communication, even though like I'm very emotional in my face sometimes, especially when those emotions are very deep and I'm kind of slipping out of my rational brain.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just kind of the thing of like taking that time, understanding that, okay, this way might work with Icarus, but it's not necessarily going to work with my wife. I need to take a different step and a different light I need to try and explain this differently. You know, I've talked to you a million times and it's like,
Well, that's
man, you kind of be
how
harsh.
that's kind of how I work when I'm learning those things through how I manage people, right? So I have a lot of different personalities right now that I have to work with on a regular basis in order to keep everybody happy. So it's clients, right? It's employees, it's all of that. You, my wife, right? So I have to balance those those personalities. And that's important.
The other thing that I probably should have started with this one is, hold on. I'm fat, y'all. I had to, that clanking is I had to take my belt off. I'm fat, man. It's cutting in my gut.
At the D hot.
D hot. This is about you all. The decisions you make start with you two. It doesn't start with what my mom thinks, my cousin thinks, my aunt thinks, my brother thinks. It starts with you. Because now you have formed a family that is yours. And what you want for your family, or what y'all want for y'all family, is y'all first.
Yeah, that's one thing that I kind of preach and I harp on. That's super important to me. Like it can't be everybody else's opinions based off of what we should be doing or how we should be doing things. Like we dictate to other people how we want to do things, and then if they agree with it, then they're on board. If they don't, then that's not the thing that we need to talk to them about.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like so often we find ways to disconnect, you know, from that. And that's in staying in the bubble. It is about us first. It is about what me and my household are going to do.
Yeah.
You know.
So
yeah.
I think I kind of want to transition to when things go wrong, they can, when things can go wrong, they will go wrong. And kind of detail what things might go wrong
everything. So something is like you're supposed to start something at this time. This person is supposed to show up and they don't. This person was supposed to tailor this dress and they won't. You know, you're supposed to be happy together and you're not. Like that day, like your plane doesn't leave when you want it to. Your mother's sick. Your cousin didn't get an invite and still showed up. Like everything that can will. Like the thing that is difficult, and it's a blur anyway.
Right, it's supposed to be in some way.
It is a general blur. Like majority of it, you won't remember a year from now. Like you just can't, because it's such an overload. Like y'all have done good stuff by doing the engagement parties and being able to kind of like meet people and everything from both sides. But like there are still so many more people. There's still so many more stories. There's still so much more that you haven't shared or she hasn't shared. Even with y'all coming down here, there's still a whole lot of things that you didn't get to like show. Like you could have shown, you know, the elementary, like you can show all of these things. Like this is where I did my first show. This is where I did my first talent show. Like this is why this is important to me. This is why I like Pokemon, is because of this guy right here. Like we were, you know, simpatico together, you know.
Nice.
And I mean like everything just kind of blows up. But that's when you go back to number one, staying in the bubble. Because the ceremonies and a lot of those things, while the starting point is what it is that you want and how you want it, the ultimate execution of that is about other people.
Yeah. Well, 90%
You
of
know.
everything that I've done in life has been logistical, right? So I I think that I have a nature for dealing with logistics and managing logistics and making things run smoothly. And so even though I know things will go wrong and I know that a lot of things will be out of my control, I have a little bit more I have a lot more skill to draw from, because of it.
Getting in that bag, the skill bag.
Skill bag
Skill bag.
brought to you by Craftsman. Um
I was trying to
Sponsor is Craftsman. What if Craftsman was a sponsor of this show? That would be, I feel like that would be a misalignment. I fix stuff around the house, right? I used to sell those tools, but at the same time, like they're our audience is not really the Craftsman type of guy.
This is what they're thinking right now. They don't know what's going on.
They're like, what?
What?
We wouldn't sponsor these guys.
But yeah, like those are some of my big things. Is like stay in the bubble, communicate, 24-hour rule, make sure you know it's about you, and just be happy, man. Like this is a great day. Like I'm proud of you guys.
What about appreciation?
Yeah. Like you got to shout out to Miss Johnson, because by the time this all go around, it'll be Miss or Miss Wordplay, I guess.
Miss Wordplay.
Miss Wordplay. Miss Wordplay.
Yo, I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
This entire time.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
So shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Wordplay.
Oh man, that's crazy. All right, and I think we can close this one. Quite honestly.
Yeah, man. Everybody, make sure that you send your comments in all our social media stuff or whatever. You know where.
Yeah, be sure to share this episode for sure, because I think people listen and they don't have a reminder to share. And so if you listen to this, share it on social media, put it up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Just share the link straight from the device that you're using.
Yeah. And comment on the page at wordplaytj.com/NROR. And just engage with us as you always have, and we'll continue to engage with you guys. Thought I heard noise. Anyway, yeah, so we love you guys. This is your boy Icarus Gray.
Wait a minute.
I messed it up. So we're gonna try that again.
I was gonna cue it for a second. I was just gonna be like this.
As always, this has been the No Rhyme or Reason podcast with your boy Icarus Gray.
And your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And we'll see you guys next week. A 1 and a 2 and a 3. Peace. No Rhyme or Reason is an On the Map music group production.